Hello, welcome to the workshop, How Bariatric Patients Who Have Regained Weight After Bariatric Surgery Can Control Their Cravings in Just 5 Minutes a Day. So my name is Georgie Beams. I am a registered psychologist, which is 6 years of training, and working with bariatric patients is my core focus. So I only work with bariatric patients. I have over 10 years experience only working in this area. So I have gone deep, and I'm really looking forward to sharing my exact framework that I share with my paid clients, which only takes 5 minutes a day. So this workshop is for you if you've had bariatric surgery, regardless of the surgery, whether it's a lap band, whether you have had a bypass, a sleeve, or revision surgery. You have experienced either significant stall, so your weight has plateaued, or you have regained weight. You really desperately want to get back on track. You do not want to regress back to your old pre-surgery weight, because we know it's a bit of a slippery slope. And you're ready to stop the I'll start again tomorrow mentality, or I'll start again on Monday, which is that old dieting mentality. So today I'm going to share with you my framework that I give to my paid clients. And it's really the most simple way to control cravings. And you can start this today. And it's, again, only 5 minutes. This framework will empower you with a new way forward that doesn't involve any other change, such as going on some crazy diet or restricting yourself in any way. And it will also help you to feel less consumed by your cravings. This is based off the 10 years that I have going deep, only working with bariatric patients, and it's all free for you today. I'm also going to share with you this tool for free as a gift, and I'll do that at the end. So make sure you stay right till the end where I share this free gift that you will not want to miss, because I want to give you some context in terms of how to use it. Now, if all of this resonates, you might be interested in connecting with me personally to see how I can also help you. You don't have to, but if you are someone that is sick and tired because you've tried all of the things and you still feel stuck, and you don't want to regress back to that old pre-surgery way of being and weight, and this really might resonate with you. And if that's all okay, let's move forward. So here's the thing, you know all the right things to do. That is never in question. And in fact, you can actually Google it. You can Google bariatric meal plans. You can Google a bariatric recipe book. But the thing is, that only equates to around 10% of us, of all of our decisions, of all of our behavior and our habits. So it's never what to eat. That's often never in question. It's why. Why have you been unintentionally derailing your success after surgery? Because no one intends to consciously sabotage their surgery. But yet this is my bread and butter area. This is my jam, working with regain after bariatric surgery. It's a core focus. And how to shift out of sabotage and to get back on track and stay there to make your weight loss surgery a longer term success is the work that I do. Now, many bariatric patients who have regained, so either they're in a significant stall or plateau or regained weight after surgery, they have a disordered eating pattern for the most part. And this is a pattern of eating that typically started quite young in life, around childhood or a little bit later. And this is where you feel really consumed by food. So you have all these thoughts around food. You're thinking about your next meal, what to eat. There could also be secret eating, alone eating, a lot of non-hungry eating. So that mindless snacking. Nighttime eating, it could be grazing throughout the day. Once you start snacking, you can't stop. And this is very common for this disordered eating pattern to be continuing to play out after surgery, because surgery does not fix a disordered eating pattern, and this pattern did not start after surgery. This is a long-term pattern, and in my professional opinion, disordered eating isn't talked about enough as the root cause behind this eating and weight gain in order for you to need surgery in the first place. So here's some research around disordered eating patterns after surgery and what it looks like. Obviously, it looks a little bit different post-surgery than pre-surgery, but there's no coincidence that it's the same type of eating pattern and the same type of habits that have snuck back in after surgery. So if nighttime eating was your thing pre-surgery, it's probably still your thing post-surgery. And what's in between is a honeymoon period. And this essentially, the honeymoon period is where we press pause on those old eating habits. But as a honeymoon period wears off, this is where we see the same patterns continuing post-surgery. And these patterns do not correct themselves. So we need a psychological intervention to really heal and work with just a disordered eating pattern. So after surgery, the research shows us that there's a loss of control around food. So really a lot of non-hungry eating or emotional eating. So that mindless eating, the snacking, just eating when you're not physically hungry. It's that real head hunger, not the tummy hunger. We'll talk about that soon. It could be for you grazing throughout the day, picking, nibbling. And again, this is very unplanned, and it's when you're also, it's got nothing to do with your hunger as well. So it's all that head hunger. And nighttime eating, that habitual nighttime eating. And this might be when the kids are in bed, maybe it's when you're alone and the TV is on. Disordered eating pattern can really contribute to weight regain and diminish our mental health. So not feel good about ourselves, which is what no one intends, and it's what you do not want. As I said, no one goes into this to deliberately sabotage their surgery success after all the investment and everything and all that hard work that's gone in during that pre-surgery and post-surgery. And changing the way that you eat actually starts with your psychology. And psychology really could be the missing piece of the puzzle in your weight loss surgery journey. This pattern of eating has been acknowledged as a psychological issue. When I was really struggling with my own eating and weight back in the day, I just thought it was a willpower issue, a control issue. I didn't have enough discipline, and everyone else around me, all my friends, had it, and I just missed out on that gene. But over time and a lot more research in this area, it's actually been acknowledged as a mental health issue, not a willpower or control issue, which means we need a psychological intervention to help. Now, here are some of the problems experienced by bariatric patients with disordered eating. So if you even experience one of these problems, you are in the right place for this workshop. So you might feel powerless to food, that food is in control of you versus you being in control of it. A lot of mindless eating, so just going through the motions, that robotic eating, secret eating or alone eating. It could be specific habits, like it's chocolate every night when the kids are in bed, or it's nuts, or it's chips, or it could be more general, like grazing all day, being more of a chaotic eater with no structure, not meeting your protein goals, not meeting your fiber goals as well. You might be someone that starts off being good in the morning and in control, and then that switch flicks over at some point, whether that's the afternoon it flicks over, whether it's the evening that flicks over, and it turns into bad, right? They're in control in the morning and then out of control later in the day, or in control during the week and out of control at the weekend. Or maybe you're someone that you're good when you're really busy and you're running around and you're really distracted, but when you stop, that's when you start eating. Now, when you're in control around your food, typically you can be really scared of failing in the future. So really scared of the regain. Like, how long is this going to last? How long can I be in control for? How long can I be at this goal weight for instance? But you can still feel consumed by food, even though you might feel in control around food. And then when you're out of control with food, which is often the client group that I work with, you're scared of that pre-surgery regain and you feel like a failure. And of course, I know what that feels like, and it negatively impacts your mental health, how you feel about yourself. And how you feel about yourself affects how you show up and your interactions and the lens that you see the world out of. So it's really significant. You might feel stuck, like feeling like you're in this prison, like you don't know how to break free. You don't want to be here. You desperately want to feel like you're back on your path. But this cycle has been in place since childhood. So it's a very long-term cycle. And everything is just filtered through your eating and weight. So good or bad. And perhaps your self-worth is really tied up into your weight. So when you lose some weight, you feel better about yourself. And when you go through a significant stall or regain, you don't feel good about yourself. And again, the mental health impacts of this, and you might avoid certain situations. Now, bariatric patients are seeking control external to them to fix the problem. So this is the number one issue that I see playing out. I've seen thousands of bariatric patients over the years as a psychologist. Now, this external control comes from an external strategy. So surgery, weight loss surgery, is a great example of external control. So it's outside of me. The surgeon has done its job. The sleeve has done its job. The lap band has done its job. Whatever that looks like for you, it's external to me. Okay. A diet is another example of external control. So give me the plan and I follow it. Weight loss medication. That's another example of external control. So I give myself the shot, and then the shot gives me the control. Or it's the diet that gives me the control. It's the surgery that's giving me that control and restriction. It's not me. Or distractions as well. So being busy, sort of running around, filling up your time. And that means that you don't eat. Or I know that some people use distractions such as using their hands in the evenings as a way of not eating, or other little hacks that you might be using to try to give you that external control. I can think that control is the solution. And I used to think this back in the day when I really struggled. If only I had more control. If I have more control and more willpower, then I can stick to the diet. I can be good. I can lose the weight and life will be perfect. But what I didn't realize at the time, that I now realize after spending 10 years in this industry, is that control is actually the problem. So the control is not the solution. The control is the problem. So if external control was the answer, then you wouldn't be here. You wouldn't be here watching this workshop, and you wouldn't have regained any weight after surgery. So we know that there's more to it than that. So this external control really leads to these mistakes that I see many bariatric patients are making. And I want you to identify which camp that you are currently in at the moment. So the first camp is in control, feeling in control, which again is short term. So this might be going on the reset diet, any form of dieting, counting calories, restricting yourself, intermittent fasting, cutting out food groups, cutting out the carbs, etc. In control could also look like revision surgery. It could look like the weight loss medications. Again, short-term outcomes. It could look like starting or increasing your exercise as a way for you to control. So when I go to the gym, then it controls the food intake that I have for the rest of the day. And when I don't go to the gym, then I'm more out of control. But we know that research has shown us that exercise only maintains weight. It does not actually contribute to weight loss. And obviously there's lots of other benefits to exercise, such as mental health, but it is not a effective longer-term strategy for weight loss. Or it might be simple hacks to stay in control, like keeping busy and distracted, like cleaning your teeth after dinner, telling yourself the kitchen's closed, replacing bad options with better options. So instead of having sugar, I'm going to have this protein bar, or I'm going to have fruit. But they're all short-term strategies to try to stay in control. That's one side. The other side is being out of control. And this is the most common one with the clients that I work with, because it's a strategy of starting again tomorrow. So I will eat what I'm going to eat today and tell myself a story that I'm going to be good tomorrow and I'll change tomorrow. And of course, tomorrow never comes. And then we get stuck in that spiral. So it's a strategy of having the best of intentions, but doing nothing with our behaviors. And this is where the weight regain really kicks in, because it's what we're doing every single day consistently over time that's leading to more and more weight regain. And I call this the ostrich strategy. So it's almost like a little bit head in the sand, hoping and praying that the eating will just correct itself. We'll go to bed tonight and we'll wake up and we'll just feel different, and we'll have more willpower and we'll have more control and things will be different. But this area of disordered eating does not correct itself by itself. We need a psychological intervention. So again, it might be start again tomorrow or Monday and tomorrow never comes, or giving up and staying in the rut, which again, we're stuck in that regain and it negatively impacts our mental health. So this is this all or nothing thinking with control. And it's like two different sides of the same coin. You can't have one side without the other side. So anytime you are trying to be in control, looking for that external control strategy, whether that's through the dieting, the medications, the revision surgery, staying busy, distracted, etc., it's only a matter of time until you're going to end up being out of control. The coin is going to flip over, because we cannot stay being in control for too long. It is only a short-term strategy. This is the number one mistake I see so many bariatric patients making, and it's one that I made myself because I didn't know this information back then. That's why I want to share it with you. So being in control up here is disproportionate. It's right up this extreme. And anything in the extreme is only a short-term solution. Otherwise, dieting would have worked. You wouldn't have needed surgery in the first place. Surgery is not the first rodeo, and chances are you've tried a lot of diets out there before needing surgery. So you know that you can only be in control when you will your way through it in the short term before that coin flicks over and you become out of control with the ostrich strategy. And then you end up spending more time being out of control than you do in control. So this is where weight regain happens, our mental health diminishes, and then you get in enough pain where you're like, I can't do this anymore. I've already regained weight. I can't get back to my pre-surgery weight. You're in pain, and then you go back to the next external control strategy and try that. It's like, I remember when I was on Weight Watchers in my 20s. Okay, maybe I should try that again. And then you go through this cycle back and forth like this tennis match. But this is a very stressful way to live. It's driven by a lot of fear and anxiety, mainly around failure and regain. As you can see, being in control with an external strategy is the problem, not the solution. And we all know the iceberg analogy. So we have 10% of us above the line. This is our conscious mind. This is in charge of 10% of who we are. And it's up here, right? Anytime like a to-do list is analytical, is logical. We're often very strong up here with the women I work with in this area. And anytime that we do the reset diet, revision surgery, weight loss surgery in the first instance, weight loss medications, dieting, it is engaging the conscious mind. But it's only 10% of the full equation. But yet, if you've regained weight or a significant stall, it's all happening below the line. And so this is your subconscious mind. All of your eating habits, all of the sabotage, all of this mindless eating, secret eating, snacking, grazing, fear of failure, self-worth tied up in your weight, feeling so consumed by food, it is all happening outside of your conscious awareness in the subconscious mind. And this is why it's so powerful. It's in charge of 90% of your behavior. So what I find is that many bariatric patients are only using these external strategies above the line, working with their conscious mind, where the problem exists below the line. So this is the area that I work, addressing the problem at the level that it's occurring, which is working with the subconscious. And this might start to really open your eyes to why some of these strategies have not worked for you in the past. And hopefully some light bulbs are going out and you've got a new understanding about what's really going on for you at a deeper level. Now, a lot of my clients say to me, Georgie, it's just a habit. It's just a habit, and my nighttime eating or my grazing. And sure, it is a habit. And with our habits, what happened yesterday happens today, and what happens today happens tomorrow. And remember, it's over time that leads to our regain. It becomes problematic over time with this pattern of eating. However, if it was just as simple as just a habit, why not break it today? Why not just stop it? Right? It's not as simple. You wouldn't have needed surgery in the first place if it was just as simple as stop the habit. So there's a deeper reason underneath it, and that's the area that I work. This is a deeper reason here in the subconscious mind that really needs to be addressed for the longer term change that so many of you are after surgery. So being in control with these external control strategies leads to weight regain in the future. So again, we think that control and being in control is the solution. But again, just showing you that being in control with these external strategies is actually the problem. And this is what the research tells us. So this red line here is using diet and exercise for weight loss reasons only. And we can see a bit of a dip in weight, which we've probably all experienced with our pattern of eating. But look at it over time, the 1 to 2 years, the 2+ years. So this is the starting point, and look at that regain. That just blows my mind. So we can see that using these external control strategies work in the short term, as the research shows us, but we get even more regain over time. And of course, we get more preoccupied with food. We feel even more consumed with food. It can lead to binging and negative mental health. So I want to share that you are certainly not alone if this is resonating, and it is not your fault, because no one consciously goes in to sabotage their surgery success, but yet this is the only area that I work in. Why is that the case? So if you've experienced it, as I said, you are in the right place and you are not alone. So as we know, external control isn't the answer. It's not the solution. What I believe most bariatric patients are truly craving is internal control. So remember, the external strategies are surgery, revision surgery, any form of dieting, restriction, counting, even using exercise as a control strategy, controlling your weight, as well as weight loss medications. The external strategies only work in the short term. Internal control comes from the brain. Control does not come from the stomach. Control comes from the brain, because we can override it. Otherwise, mindless eating would not be a thing. The head stuff, right? That's the big battle when it comes to after surgery to really stay on track. It's the head game. This is what I'm sort of referring to here. And so the brain can override all the signals of the stomach. So internal control can be like opening a packet of chocolate and leaving it in the fridge and no longer thinking about it. Opening a pack of biscuits or chips and leaving it. It can look like walking down the confectionery aisle and not thinking about the chocolate and the chips and feeling so free up here. This is what I believe most bariatric patients are truly craving, but they are focused in the wrong areas. They're focused on the external control, which is the problem. The real solution is the internal control, which must come from the brain. So here's some science. As a psychologist, I'm all about science. And this is an actual brain scan with some clinical trials for obese people. So we can see here that this is an actual scan of a brain, and the participants went through a fMRI machine, which is where we take photos of the brain. So this is an actual photo, a picture. And these participants were shown their go-to food. So they struggled with their relationship with food, and they were shown images of the ice cream and the chocolate and the chips. And you can see here certain parts of the brain lit up and got excited. So this is what happens when you see food or you think about food. Your brain is lighting up, and this activation is taking you to the food. And that's why it's so hard to say no in the moment. Now, just the matter of 4 weeks with an intervention and evidence-based tool that actually changes the brain's pathways to give you internal control leads to no activation in the brain. The brain literally lost interest in the food. And when your brain loses interest in the food, you have no cravings. So you forget about the chocolate. You can go and fill up your car at the petrol or gas station and not think about getting the chocolate at the same time. This is what natural control looks like. This is our brain when we're still looking for external control strategies. I want to share a little bit more case study data because I collect data in this area working with bariatric patients around internal control. So this is a bariatric patient who had a gastric sleeve. She got down to her lowest weight and then regained a significant amount. She had tried different things. She had tried working with a bariatric dietitian. She knew what to eat. That was never in question, but she couldn't stop the pattern of mindless eating. She also had a chaotic eating pattern as well, and there was no structure. So she regained 34 kilos and mindless eating was the issue. And in the matter of 3 months, working with these evidence-based tools and working together with this methodology, she had 60% more control over her food cravings. So we updated those pathways in the brain where she forgot about the chocolate. It no longer interested her at all. 20% improvement to her mental health. She went from feeling unworthy, feeling helpless, feeling unhappy, feeling sluggish, and they significantly improved. So she went from feeling really stuck to feeling a lot more empowered. And she released 5 kilos naturally without going on a crazy diet and doing anything else, all by updating the brain's pathways that gave her natural control. And the research shows not only do these tools work quickly to update the brain's pathways, but they last over time. So that's why I love this particular approach of internal control that's much more sustainable and lasts a lot longer than external control, which is only short term. And this particular case study participant said after working for 3 months together, her cravings really diminished. She had more structured eating. She sees food as more enjoyable, not seen as just a treat or reward, and she can actually stop eating, which she never used to be able to do. It was more empowering doing this work and an emotional release because sometimes many clients feel like the emotional weight will release with the physical weight, and that's not always the case. And she feels the courage just to go and be her. I call this her version 2.0 thriving self. So I wanted to share that case study data to show what is possible with this new way forward. So if we have not crossed paths before, I am a registered psychologist. That's 6 years of training, and it's a highly regulated industry, which means that we can only use evidence-based tools. These tools have a lot of science backed behind it, and we can trust the science. It's not just some fad, some quick fix, because if you're like me, you tried that in the past and you're here. And also, it's evidence-based. So I am not a coach that's done a course in a weekend. I'm not a bariatric patient with no qualifications, sharing a few secrets with you. There's been a lot of study, university courses in this area, and my core focus is bariatric patients. I've gone deep in this area. I actually worked in-house for 5 years at a weight loss surgery clinic. I have a 3-month intensive working with weight loss surgery patients who have significantly stalled or regained and want to get back on track. I've written a book, Weight Loss Surgery Secrets, and I have a podcast called Reverse the Relapse, where I go into the deeper reasons behind our sabotage. And not only do I have the professional qualifications and credentials and experience in this area, but personally, I get it. I have struggled in the past. I know what it's like to struggle, not have control, to have my self-worth all tied up into my weight. This was me for over a decade. And again, I tried all the diets, I tried all the things out there, and I just regained. I got fatter and fatter over time, just like that Nike swoosh that just kept going. The regain just kept going up. And I was on this awful trajectory. And because of my psychology background, I went down a different path and found these rewiring tools and did a lot of internal work, a lot of psychological work, and stepped into what I call my version 2.0 thriving self. Our version 1 is often our pre-surgery struggling self. But what I find is that many bariatric patients, they start as their version 1.0 self when they have surgery, Their body gets the upgrade to version 2 with the releasing of weight and the health benefits and the energy, but their mind is still at version 1. So the core work I do is helping to upgrade bariatric patients' minds from version 1 to version 2, which is at natural control. Because that natural control, where our brain loses interest in the food, is a version 2.0 mind. And this will really help to get that longer term success and outcome from your surgery. So let's get into the framework now. This is what I want to share with you. This is what I share with my paid clients, and it's just 5 minutes a day. So I'm going to give you the step-by-step plan that you can implement today to really start to get on track. This is step 1 out of many steps that I share with my clients in my 3-month intensive program. So this is really a taster. This is just to get started. There's a lot more to eating and weight because it's complex and we can't abstain from it like we can with other things. We need to heal it and create a new relationship with food. But this is going to help just pop you on your path and get started today. So the first thing I recommend when I see clients in the first session, we go through their pattern of eating, and we all have a pattern of eating. That's disordered eating. It's not just a one-off. It's a pattern over time. Most likely it started with pre-surgery as well. Now, we often just have a thought about food or thought about eating, and we just eat. And we don't often stop to say, is it head hunger or is it tummy hunger? Because we really need to identify it first and differentiate it, because both have different strategies. So let's talk through what is head hunger and what is tummy hunger. So this physical hunger is tummy hunger, and it tends to come on gradually and it can be postponed. It typically comes in waves, so you can just kind of ride the wave. You can feel the hunger pains. You can even feel the tummy rumbling, and then it can dissipate a bit, and then it can increase over time. Now, tummy hunger can be satisfied with any number of foods, not specific foods, any number. Once you're full, you're likely to stop eating, and it typically doesn't cause a feeling of guilt afterwards. Emotional hunger or head hunger feels sudden and urgent, and maybe it's after dinner and then all of a sudden you need that dessert, but it's not general, it's very specific. So it's very specific cravings like salted caramel ice cream, and nothing else will do. You tend to eat more than what you would. So again, that disordered eating pattern, you override any physical sensations and eat when you're not hungry. And this is all non-hungry eating over here. It's never got anything to do with being hungry, this head hunger. There's more to it than that. And you can feel guilt afterwards. So what I want you to do is just take stock and have a think about your patterns over time. You can even write it out. What is the percentage roughly of your day and your eating pattern? Is it 80% head hunger and 20% physical hunger? Is it 50-50? But that's where I want you to start, is looking at your patterns and over the day. Is it more head hunger at 3 p.m. in the afternoon? Is it more head hunger at 9 p.m. in the evening, and midday is more tummy hunger? So I want you just to get a bit forensic here and start to dig a bit deeper around your pattern with your head hunger versus your tummy hunger. Now, with our tummy hunger, it's really important that we honor it, okay? So we want to honor that as a strategy. We don't want to override tummy hunger. We probably used to do that back in the dieting days, right? And I recommend using this hunger fullness scale. And what we have here is 0 is empty and 10 is when we feel really sick, like we've really stuffed ourselves, we're really overeaten. And we really want to stay here in this window. We want to really start eating at a 4 out of 10, and we want to stop at around a 7. So what I like to do is, we can even do this together, is just close down your eyes and just place your awareness in your tummy area. And I want you just to be curious. On a scale of 1 to 10, remember 1 is empty, ravenous, and 10 is feeling really sick or stuffed. Where's your hunger at the moment? And just go with whatever comes to mind. I would be tuning in like that during the day, and rather than focusing on external cues like the time. Yeah? Now, I see a lot of busy women that disregard the hunger fullness scale, and they go from maybe, feeling like a 6 or a 7, and they get right down to a 0 or a 1. So what happens is they might skip breakfast, or they might have breakfast and they're busy during the day, running around, working, picking up kids, etc. I know that I'm a busy mum myself, trying to juggle it all. But then they let themselves get down to empty. And that's not helpful and healthy as well. So because what happens is when we're down here with empty, we are usually just grabbing something quick and easy to fill ourselves up. And often they're not the best choices for us. And we're not going to hit our protein and fiber targets there. That can be a form of sabotage as well, letting yourself get empty and then you're just quickly trying to sort of shovel in whatever you can find. So I recommend using this scale a few times a day, and also during when you're eating as well. So really pausing and stopping and closing your eyes and tuning in again, because you're also going to notice some subtle sensations in the body when you start to feel you're at a 6 or a 7. So that's the strategy for tummy hunger. We want to honor that. Let's now talk about head hunger, because that's probably going to be the predominant hunger type for you if you're like most of the clients that I work with. So let's take a look at the feeling that's locked into the food. So we're talking here about cravings as patterns over time, not just one-off. And as we mentioned, there's no coincidence that those pre-surgery habits have snuck back in after surgery, and the honeymoon period just pressed pause on that. So this particular protocol that I use states that a feeling is locked into the food when we have a specific habit over time that we cannot say no to. So let's say it's 9 p.m. at night and the kids are in bed and you're alone and the TV's on, you sit in the same seat in the couch and you grab the ice cream, okay? What's happened in the brain? Remember, we've seen the brain scans, and the activation is that you've locked in a feeling into 9 p.m. at night in front of the TV eating the ice cream. This is why we can't say no in the moment, because the brain is all fired up, as we've seen in the brain scans. Now, the first thing is to realize that what we are truly craving is the feeling that we've locked into the food or the habit, not the food itself. So we are actually not really craving the ice cream. We're not really craving the chocolate or the chips. We're craving the feeling that's associated with this habit. So for many women I work with, they're craving relaxation. They're craving relief. They're craving that me time, because everything else has been about everyone else during the day, probably looking after elderly parents, working, kids, everything. And then you get to the end of the day and it's time for you. And the only time that we know involves the food. So it's almost like everything else all day has been about everyone else. This is my one thing. Now, the one thing I want to share about this is we often tell ourselves a narrative that we are relaxing. It's me time, relaxation, but we're eating. So what we're actually really doing is we're numbing out and we're not relaxing at all. And the way that we know this is because when we are relaxed, think about like a facial, a massage, a yin yoga class. Your awareness is in your body. You're out of your head, right? Remember the head with, analyzing, we are controlling, we're in our body. So we're in our body and we're floating out of the massage. We're not looking to shove down the food, are we? So when we are truly relaxed, and so many women have forgotten what it feels like to truly relax, we're not seeking the food. When we are eating with other distractions, in this way, this pattern over time, these habits over time, our awareness is in our head. Remember, its control is up here, and we are numbing out. And it's very, very different. But we're telling ourselves a false narrative that we're actually relaxing when we are numbing out. Now, most weight loss surgery patients react to their cravings. It's this mindless eating. What we want to do instead is we want to respond, which is more in a mindful and conscious way. So what I want you to do is just write down when your cravings occur, because again, we've got patterns here. There's going to be no surprises. So let's say we'll keep using that example of 9 p.m. at night and you eat ice cream and the kids are in bed and you're alone and the TV's on. Rather than just reacting mindlessly to this craving, because that craving is going to come every night at 9 p.m. if this is your pattern, We want to respond to it. We want to get on the front foot rather than react. So let's anticipate it. And when we respond, it actually gives you a choice. When we react, it's mindless and there's no choice. And that's where we get stuck because our habits just repeat. What happened yesterday happens today. What happens today happens tomorrow. So what I recommend you do, grab it now, is you get your phone and pop an alarm on to anticipate your craving time. Just choose one time out of the day or night. So one target, and set an alarm. And so you're anticipating that you're going to get this craving. So set the alarm around that time of craving. So in this case, you might set it at 8:45 p.m. or 9 p.m. at night. Now, that alarm is going to go off. And what I want you to do is, rather than numb out, so when we numb out, we disconnect, we zone out. We don't want to think, we don't want to feel. So a lot of people are eating to numb out. This just leads to more and more eating, right? It's that mindless eating, which is what we don't want, which is not on our path to the longer term outcomes that we want. So what we want to do is, instead of numbing out and distracting ourselves, because so many people think, I just need to distract myself through the craving, but that's only short term. So again, that's just an external control strategy that's part of the problem. What we want to do, instead of distracting ourselves and numbing out, is we want to tune in and we want to engage and we want to connect. Now, we've talked a little bit about head and body. Our awareness can either be in our head or our body. We can't be in both at the same time. And as I mentioned, if you're like most of the clients, and this used to be me, I was so strong up here, all the to-do and the planning and the control, etc. And I just wasn't in my body. That just felt really uncomfortable and unfamiliar. All of our feelings are stored in our body. There's so much. This is our subconscious mind in our body and our conscious mind up here. But remember, 10%, 90%. Okay? So once the alarm goes off, what I want you to do is get out of your head, because if we stay in our head, remember, it's called head hunger. We're pretty much guaranteed to eat. We're going to numb out and eat, and we're just going to continue this cycle, which you want to break, right? We want to get into our body instead. So rather than disconnecting, we want to connect. The easiest way to do this is with a tool called the 5-minute body scan. And what this does is it facilitates the process of taking you out of your head and placing you in your body. So remember, distractions do not work. External strategies do not work. Numbing out does not work. What we want to do is go from head to body. And this slows down the process. It takes us off automatic pilot and it gives us a choice. And the choice is, do I actually want to eat or not? It's a very different way of eating than like shoving it in really, really quickly. Now, the thing is, we do not naturally facilitate shifting from head to body. That just does not happen. We need a tool to facilitate this shift. So I want to gift you my most effective strategy. It's so simple, but yet so effective. 5-minute body scan. Takes you out of your head and puts you into your body. It feels good. The other thing is, when we have a craving, you may or may not have noticed, but it can feel there's tension and tightness. There's some discomfort in the body, and it can feel like a feeling of anxiety. There's got to be something that happens in the body to get you off the couch and get you to the fridge. What happens when we eat is that feeling dissipates and we feel more calm and relaxed. But again, we're using an external strategy, being food, to reduce those feelings of tension and anxiety in the body. What I recommend is using the 5-minute body scan. And what we're doing is we're building an internal resource to manage your cravings. So you don't need to rely on anything external to manage it and distract yourself, which doesn't work in the long term, or you wouldn't be here because you probably tried it. So what I want you to do is put the 5-minute body scan on. After your alarm goes off, you're going from head to body, and it feels really good. And the other thing I wanted to mention is there's no quick fix that will stop a craving. So the body scan isn't designed to not eat the food. It is designed to slow down, to take yourself off automatic pilot, not mindlessly eat, and ask yourself afterwards, do I feel like eating this or not? So let's go with the 9 p.m., kids are in bed, TV's on. Even before you put the TV on, okay, we'll talk about that in a second. You do the 5-minute body scan and you tune into your tummy and say, do I actually really feel like the ice cream? Now, a lot of the time it's a no. Okay. And that can feel really empowering, and you can go to bed that night feeling proud of yourself. Sometimes it's, you know what, I actually feel like the ice cream, and that's okay. And if that's okay, if you feel like the food, then you decide to eat it. It's your choice. That's very different to being caught in the old habitual way where you feel powerless to the food. But I want you to eat it in a different way. I want you to put it on a plate. I want you to sit in a different seat. I want you to savor it and enjoy it and then move on from it. That's a very different way of eating. Go get the knife and fork. I told this to a client last week. She loved chocolate. I said, put it on a plate and use a knife and fork. And she had fun with it. Now, we are all creatures of habit. As I mentioned, you know, kids are in bed, you're alone, TV's on, you probably sit in the same seat. And that's when, where's the chocolate? The chocolate fits in with this picture. So the final step that I want you to do is mix up your internal environment. Because we are creatures of habit, if you have associated eating chocolate at the same time in the same conditions, you're going to be guaranteed to get a craving. So hop on the front foot, mix up your environment. If the TV is on, turn it off, put some music on, read a book, sit in a different seat. Sitting in a different seat, just try it once. It's going to feel really weird and uncomfortable, but then you can start to see the habitual way and how your mind works. Put food on a plate or a bowl rather than just having it from the packet, or rather than standing up and eating, go and sit in a different seat. And again, remember, if you are going to eat, it's your choice, and savor it and enjoy it and then move on. So here's your checklist. Check in. Step 1. Is this tummy hunger or is this head hunger? If it is tummy hunger, we want to honor that, and we want to use the hunger fullness scale. And we can use that during the day. We check in a few times a day, and particularly when we're eating. Set an alarm for your phone for your head hunger. You know your patterns. So set an alarm right before those cravings start to kick in. Do the body scan. It's 5 minutes. It feels good. Take your awareness from your head into your body. We know distractions don't work. Numbing out does not work. It's just going to keep you eating and eating and keep this pattern going. Get into your body, slow it down, and then tune in. Do I really feel like it? Chances are you probably may not feel like it, but if you do, eat it in a different way. Savor it and let it go. And then mix up your environment. If the TV is on, turn it off. Put music on instead, sit in a different seat, put it in a bowl, use a knife and fork, put it on a plate. So these tools are really simple strategies. This is where I recommend that you start. It's really good to use in the moment to get started. However, it doesn't fix a disordered eating pattern that has been around for decades. So I wanted to extend the invitation. If this is resonating, if what I'm saying is resonating, if you have been focusing on those external control strategies, hoping that would be the solution, and realizing that this is the problem, and you are wanting that internal control where your brain's pathways, they lose interest in your go-to foods, lose interest in those habits, which means that you no longer have cravings, to step into what I call your version 2 thriving self after surgery. It's never too late to get back on track. I've worked with thousands of clients in all different situations, all different surgeries, and help them with this work. Then I invite you to apply and let's chat, and let's talk about why you might be unintentionally sabotaging your success. And I'll share with you the roadmap for longer term surgery success and more about the work that I do. And if you are in a regain rut, and the weight can just keep creeping in, and as I mentioned, if you are in the regain rut or a significant stall, it doesn't correct itself by itself. So I always recommend the best time to start to do this work is now. It's easier to do it now than in 5 kilos or 10 kilos time if we sit back and do nothing. So let me share with you how to get back on track. In terms of criteria and who really responds well to this work, is for women that really want to explore the deeper issues. This has been an issue since childhood. There are no superficial quick fixes. This is not a diet in disguise. And it's just being aware that the eating and the weight are really the symptoms, and it's getting to that root cause. You want to release the weight, and you also want to learn why you're sabotaging the success. You want to know those deeper reasons. You want to get to the root cause and clear it once and for all, because this has been going on for a very, very long time. You're ready? You're ready to commit to change. You're ready to show up and take that personal responsibility. No more procrastination, no more ostrich, no more excuses, and you want to make this your year. So click below and apply, and let's chat and let me share more around how this approach can work for you.